certainly very nerve-wracking because it's such a big thing.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a bit apprehensive about India. I don't really know what to expect there. And I'd always like to be an adventurer. That's one of the main attractions of this trip. My first adventure.
We live in such a sheltered environment here in Australia, and I've never actually experienced that third world experience.
The whole pilgrimage factor, the whole living like Mother Teresa and doing Mother Teresa's work, and hopefully teaching me a little bit more humility.
Obviously what we're going to be doing over there will be an emotional thing, and yeah, it shouldn't be, I'm not afraid to show my emotions.
Just see someone else's way of life and just help them to, enjoy life more.
I have to wait and see what God wants me to do. I'll go over there and just love everybody I see and meet and be a friend to everybody.
See you, Craig.
Everything you think India is going to be like is sort of half right, but not even nearly close.
As soon as you step out the gate, you have a sense of people. Horns going off, there's so much noise.
There was a man begging with no legs, and he just sort of rolled along the ground with his tin in his hand. And
We'd just be like amazed to see people asleep, Indians asleep just on the footpath wrapped up in a few clothes.
every street you walk, you can smell the smell of urine, the smell of faeces, the smell of chickens that have just been killed or whatever.
Many times I've seen a cow in the middle of the road. There's just something about that, seeing a cow walking along the middle of the road, stopping traffic. You don't see that every day.
You expect it to be busy. You don't expect to have to, dodge rickshaws as you cross the road.
The women sort of elegantly dressed in saris. I mean, even the poorest women here still sort of have a lot of dignity in how they take care of themselves.
Everything's dirty, there's a lot of pollution, things like that, but I still love it here.
People have so much joy, so much laughter and so much to give that we can learn from that.
Like, we expected to be confronted. We didn't expect to, basically have what we're doing shake us. It was, yeah, you sort of thought what it might be like, but what it is just so much more.
In the mornings we worked at Shishu Bhavan, which is basically an orphanage for children, abandoned or destitute children, and also children with disabilities. There's some 130 children there, and the majority of them are girls by far. And you go in there and they all surround you and they play with you and they're happy, and even though they may not have much, and they just get on with life. These kids have varying disabilities. Some are bedridden, they cannot walk. Then others have mental disabilities and things. And despite not being able to walk or whatever, they still have that joyful smile. I was in tears when I finished working there because I just thought, the other kids may be adopted, but these kids really do not. Not many people are willing to adopt a child with a disability, and therefore it's more likely that they're shifted from one home to the other. What is the hope for these kids?
A group of 4 people went to the Dum Dum orphanage for blind children, and there's 9 children there. We went there, the first volunteers ever to go there, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly. It was what I wanted to do when I came here, work with children.
You sort of walk in there and think this is a room full of children who either can't see or can't use their limbs properly, and that's sort of a very hard thing to come to terms with, that all these children will never have what we know as a normal life.
A young boy who is blind, he was just sort of laying across my legs, and I was just nursing him and singing songs, and he'll hear a noise and he'll just sort of look up around where the noise was coming from, and just really wanted to find what was making this noise. That sort of made me think I take my vision for granted.
Just trying to get them to interact was at times pretty challenging.
Seeing people smile who in most cases don't have the chance to smile or don't have the reason to smile because of something you've done, just is the best feeling. Like, it's so hard to explain. It's just the best feeling you can feel if somebody's smiling at you because you've made them smile.
My favourite place was Caligat, and it was, the most surreal. You walk into Caligat and it's hard to come to terms with this is a place where people come to die.
On the whole, quite a peaceful place. People just resting quietly, either waiting to die or waiting to recuperate. You go behind the blank wall and you see 3 rows of beds, 2 for the people who are considered sort of healthier, and then the middle row, which is for people that are quite sick. And if it's your first time, you really have no idea. You just sort of going, I hope this isn't as bad as I think it is.
And before I came, I knew in myself that the hardest thing that I would have to deal with would be death. As soon as I got there and saw the people lying on their beds, I had no idea what to do, and my initial reaction was I want to get out of here. I have no idea what to do, and I'm not helping these people.
The image for me that I will always remember is that dying man laying on his deathbed, humbly and quietly, because that's the image that was the beginning of the most amazing experience I've had on this pilgrimage.
I was only with the man for probably around 15 or 20 minutes, but as it turned out, it was his last 15 or 20 minutes. And as his death dawned, I somehow knew it was going to happen. The thing that'll stay with me is that he kept on asking me, what's the time? Well, that's what I heard anyway. Apparently he couldn't speak English, not as far as anyone knew, but he kept on asking me, what's the time? Because he was never happy with what my answer was. It was 5 o'clock or 10 past 5 or 20 past 5. And I think what he meant was that he wanted me to say it was his time to die.
What I wasn't aware of, the emotional attachment you can just get with someone from seeing them, a few days in 1 week, and trying to help them in every way possible. That is something which somebody can't really explain to you in words. It's something you have to experience.
I was initially scared at first. I'd never seen anybody die before. I didn't know what really happened. But eventually it just became calm and peaceful, and when I just said to the man, you're in a safe place. And I just hope he understood, because he was in a safe place, and I think all you can ask for when you die is that to be in a safe place where people care for you, and Caligat's a great place for that.
as Western people not really touched by leprosy or anything, and having all these sort of myths behind it. And we get over here and you start to feel doom and gloom and, you know, real grim, and I think that's why I enjoyed Calcutta so much, because none of it was gloomy or depressing, and the Bengali people are just fantastic. The simplest thing is just to shake their hand, you know, and just ignore the fact that, you know, they might not have any fingers, or, you know, their hand's crippled or whatever, and just sort of give them a smile and just sort of relate to them as a person rather than a cripple or a leper or whatever, you know. It was easy for me to sort of see past the, you know, the physical deformities, or, you know, sort of the fear of leprosy, or, you know, because there's all these sort of wives' tales about how, you know, it's contagious, and it is, but, you know, only after a certain time.
You have to say hello, Australia. Yes. Hello, Australia.
Hello.
Hello, Australia.
Yeah.
So when we walked in and the children were all waiting for us, and just to see their smiles, I sort of got an overexcitement about the place. I was really eager to get in, help these kids. I'd heard a lot about the place and how great it was, and I just sort of couldn't wait to get in and get my hands dirty with them.
MITRA stands for Madras Institute to Habilitate Retarded Afflicted. It is an organisation for the uplift and the help for the poorest section of society, the disabled, and from that section, the poorest of the poor in that section.
In terms of the work we're doing here, everything from dressing, feeding, through to schoolwork. We've all been assigned a child, you know, to look after. I've got Pradeep Paul Raj, who's a boy who can't walk. Every morning we go into occupational therapy with him. He goes and has his physio. And then put him in calipers, and he walks from where OT is up to his classroom. And that's about 50 metres at most, and it takes him 45 minutes.
Come on, nearly finished. The work here has been, well, I've been assigned a boy who's 12 years old, but he's completely unresponsive. Like, it's so hard.
I've just become friends with a lot of the kids, like, you know, those that I can talk to easily, and even I'm learning sign language and Tamil just to talk to some of the others. In the concert yesterday, they had all the stars on the floor, and they were all kids that couldn't walk. And one thing they didn't say, but I was told later, is all the stars running around in that were kids that couldn't walk before they came to Mithra. I've really been able to just jump into it, knowing that, you know, I wouldn't be emotionally stressed or anything. And I've just been able to give it everything, which is good.
The students grow, and my children grow, with contact with another community from outside, because they are very different to the Indian community, and they give the kids more input and more understanding of other people. The boys from Australia get an input from the kids because they're loving, they're all over them like a rash, and when they go home, there's crying on both sides.
We're getting really close to them and becoming their real friends to them, so I never thought I'd do that.
At the moment I feel something really powerful, and I think it has something to do with the fact that we're in a different country, we're in a different environment, and it's so obvious what needs to be done here.
I really don't want to go back to Australia and people to say to me, oh, you know, good on you for going over there and, you know, sacrificing your Christmas and being away from your family, your holidays to help the people of India.
There's always that risk that you can just go back into your normal everyday life and just say goodbye to everything I learned while I'm over here.
I just hope that, I did make a difference in the people's lives who I touched, and that they certainly made a difference in my life.
I think it's certainly been a great experience. Being over here for 4 weeks is certainly a shock to the system.
People every now and then need to have this little bit of inspiration in their faith, and that's what India has provided. It's been unreal. It's opened mine and a lot of other people's eyes as to not life in India, but just life in general. So yeah, the pilgrimage is a really good thing, and I'm very lucky. I'm very glad I was able to go on it.